These are, for us, expressions and gestures that the Holy See, the Catholic Church itself, appreciates and considers the United Nations a very important instance, a very important institutions for all the nations to come together and discuss problems. There have been 5 papal visits to the United Nations, and the last one, of course, was Pope Francis in September 2015. And I believe, really all the popes since Paul VI, when he came in 1965, and then John Paul II, he came twice. So, and then, of course, Benedict the XVI also came, and then Pope Francis. These are, for us, expressions and gestures that the Holy See, the Catholic Church itself, appreciates and considers the United Nations a very important instance, a very important institutions for all the nations to come together and discuss problems and even enjoy together what is common. So that also explains very much our presence here. We are here because we consider the United Nations not only important, but in itself very useful to humanity. So that also explains very much our presence here. We are here because we consider the United Nations not only important, but in itself very useful to humanity.
Good morning, Rome, America.
Yeah, just waking up over here, man. Yeah. Waking up.
So with this, today we are at the 15th of February. I let you know that I got a monkey on my back, right?
Oh yeah, you were gonna tell me. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanna tell you before we dive into the book that I already got rid of that monkey. Last week I got a package from some people in Germany, Kirsten and Helmut, and they sent me a book of Karl Olof Rosenius, who was a Swedish reformer who lived between 1816 and 1868. He was really proclaiming Lutheranism. He really loved Luther. And he wrote a book that is called Tägliches Seelenbrot, which is in English, The Daily Bread for the Soul.
Okay.
And in that you have, for every day, 2 pages that he writes. In the beginning, he puts a quote of the Bible. And then he writes 2 pages about biblical stuff, about justification, faith, truth, the Bible, 2 pages for our daily soul bread, okay? And I came, of course, up with that idea that I have to upload for every day one of those videos. So these 2 pages, when you read them, I did today, the 15th, which is today of February, and tomorrow already, the 16th of February, and though they are only 7 and 7.5 minutes. So, but when I want to put these up on my main channel, I cannot put up on my main channel every day a little 7-minute video and then leave all the others apart, because I upload so many other things like the book readings and hour-long videos and all that stuff, and I can't interfere with 7-minute videos. So I made a promotion video of half an hour that I'm going to read this and explain a little bit who Rosenius is, and read the beginning of the book, and that I published on my main channel today. Of course, it's all in German, of course. And I have another channel that is also called Juggler 66. Don't ask me how that works. I don't know anything about technique, but I can log in with another channel that is also called Juggler 66. And there, up to now, I only have uploaded a few videos. Like, for example, we must start at the foot of the cross, Inquisition update. When I give freely. Cool. Shall not my soul be avenged on a nation such as this? Because I'm limited there to I'm limited there to 15 minutes only, because it is not a confirmed channel. But I thought, well, I'm going to use that channel, and in the end of my promotion video that I put on my main channel, I will put a link to this channel that people can subscribe, and then they can see every day these 7, 8, 9 minute long videos for daily soul food.
Oh, interesting.
And this is just a few hours away, and I had at that channel 14 subscribers or so. I'm already at 25 right now.
Yeah.
So that has been grown already.
Little flock.
And and the video that I promoted on my main channel, that promo video I made on my main channel has already been viewed for about 100 times since 2.5 or 3 hours. So I just wanted to say I got that monkey off my back, but now, of course, the monkey still bites me every day because I really have to do these 2 pages reading every day. But I love it. I love it. It's a wonderful book. And it's wonderful also, and this is the reason why I'm telling this, all the American and English-speaking listeners.
Yes.
It is also wonderful to do something else, not only to be busy with exposing the Jesuits and exposing the Antichrist, but in that way that I can keep myself up a little bit with Bible study. Yes. I mean, this is kind of a Bible study.
That's right.
Speaking about the Word of God, which is so important. Mm-hmm. And by this, at least every day, I will read at least one verse out of the Bible, because every reading of Rosenius starts with a verse of the Bible. Today it was, for example, Ephesians chapter 1, verse 9. Mm-hmm. And that is quite interesting. Mm-hmm. So that also will lead on that sometimes I probably will say, okay, well, then when you don't want to do that, then just go to the Bible and read the whole chapter. And that's what we should do every day. We should avail ourselves to the Word of God. And we should actually read at least a chapter in the Bible every day. Maybe in this way I can even get myself to do that. Read at least that chapter that is mentioned in there, and edify myself a little bit more, study a little bit more, not only about the Jesuits as we are doing here, but
you might
also
find
about
yourself,
Jesus Christ.
You're, just reading a chapter, then you have to read another chapter, and then another and another. This is what happens with me.
Yes, I know, but I still have other things to do. So, but at least I have a way to start.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
And that just feels good.
Oh, absolutely right. Nothing better than reading the Word of God and making sense out of things. I mean, this is really where it's at. And I had a nice long talk with my cousin the other day on that. My cousin that lived in Belgium, Jörg. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Had a long talk with her the other day, which was good because we hadn't talked in a long time, and it was good. So, always is. Speaking of talk, we are going to discuss Chapter 13, Crack Troops, the Training of a Jesuit.
Yes, we are.
My, oh my. The training of a Jesuit.
Did you take a sneak preview, or why did you say
I haven't. I haven't. I was working on the book last night, and we can talk about that later.
Okay. So then let's, without any further ado, just go to the nitty-gritty here to page 134, chapter 13 of the wonderful book from P.D. Stuart, published in 2006, Codeword Barbelon, Danger in the Vatican, the Sons of Loyola and Their Plans for World Domination, on chapter 13, as Bret just so righteously mentioned, Crack Troops, the Training of a Jesuit. The book starts with a quote that is not said who that quote said, so maybe we will see that later on in the book reading, but it is a quote that probably a lot of you know already. Give me the child until he is 7, and I will give you the man. Ignatius Loyola created, quote, an army to conquer the world, unquote. Secured in the knowledge, said Wiley, that by making each member, before enrolling himself, pass through an ordeal that should sift and try and harden him, he would serve the order to his utmost. Loyola himself was a soldier in the Spanish army, and he instilled the same discipline and hardness in his sons. Now here, I'm sorry, I already have to make a little comment. I know that even the undertitle of the book is called The Sons of Loyola and Their Plans for World Domination. But I just fell about this when I read the sentence here, and he instilled the same discipline and hardness on his sons. Yes. So that means that Loyola is not only described as a quote-unquote father who has quote-unquote sons, but because he was the first Jesuit general, and the Jesuit general is always to be seen as the vicar of Christ, as Christ in the flesh in person here on earth, this is even more blasphemy when we just think about that.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if P.D. Stuart was aware of that when he wrote this. I mean, sometimes you just write these things because you know they sound good and because you have the flow of the pen and you just write, but you don't think about what you write. But I think that is why we are here for, to give you some discernment on certain things, and that you maybe should think a little bit about this and call all this soldiers of the army of the Jesuits call sons. I don't know.
You could call them corpses too.
Yeah.
Obedience is a corpse.
They are, but Bret, don't forget that all the people living in this quote-unquote society, most of them are corpses or zombies too.
Yes. Yes, I would have to agree. I would have to agree.
The Jesuit voluntarily checks his brain at the door.
Yeah.
And lets somebody else take over.
His superior, yeah. That's right.
But most of the people in the quote-unquote society that we live in do this probably even, I wouldn't say involuntarily, but unknowingly, unconsciously.
Yeah.
They open up to every kind of demon or lie or deception through television, through education, through politics and all that stuff without even recognizing it, you know?
That's right. That's right.
So in a way, we are all dead. And the Bible confirms that, because the Bible says we are all born dead in trespasses and sins.
Well, this is true.
Only Jesus is the one who gives us life. That's why when we are reborn, when we are born again in the Spirit, that actually is our first birthday. Because then we receive really the life.
And then the perception of the old man, which is the past.
Yeah. You know, when Jesus was gathering his disciples, there were two. When he said, "Come on and follow me," and one of them said, "Can I come a little bit later? I just have to bury my father."
Oh yeah, that's right.
And Jesus said, "Let the dead bury the dead." Yeah,
that's right.
When you're with me, you're with the living. So let the dead bury the dead. Don't care about the dead. You know.
That's right.
And that's what we should maybe take a little bit into consideration while reading this, that we who are born again in Christ are spiritually alive. The Jesuit who sells his soul to his general is spiritually dead.
He doesn't know it, perhaps even.
Yeah. Or he does know, but he doesn't care. You know?
But he doesn't care. Yeah, that's it. Yep. There we go. Simple enough.
So let's continue, but just I wanted to make this little point about this discipline and hardness in his sons, that we reflect a little about this picture of putting Loyola as quote-unquote the father and all his militia as quote-unquote his sons. I don't like that picture. That's why I just wanted to paint that out a bit.
No doubt, I agree.
As every army or military organization, P.D. Stuart continues, must have weapons and an arsenal, so too the army of Loyola. And the Jesuit general is the Aladdin that opens and shuts the box that holds the Jesuit genie. And he has apprentices who go wherever he may send them. Doubt it not. It has been said that the army of Alexander were known for their courage and discipline. The men of Hannibal were the soldiers of and the soldiers of Napoleon for their special preparations that gave them success on the battlefield. But, quote, the drilling and the discipline of all these combined cannot, in point of stern rigor and protracted severity, for a moment be compared to the drilling and discipline which fitted and molded men for becoming full members of the militant institute of the Jesuits, unquote. They are the Pope's light cavalry, the sharpest weapon in the papal drawer, a corpus of priests living under martial law and discipline. The individual Jesuit, although he must first have trained as a priest, need not remain in active clerical duties. Indeed, many are sent out into the field to train and work as lawyers, doctors, teachers, journalists, and any other vocation that is deemed to be useful to the aims of the order. But no one can be enrolled in the Society of Jesus until he has undergone a severe and long continued course of training. I spoke about that. If you want to go back to my playlist, Nothing But the Truth, one of the first video series I ever made in the time with Michael Adams, and I spoke about the secret oaths of the Jesuits, the oaths of induction, in the entry to that video, the first, I think, 1.5 hour. I spoke about the 20-year training that they get and the different stages they run through, like novice, coadjutor, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this is actually going back to this, where P.D. Stuart says here, no one can be enrolled in the Society of Jesus until he has undergone a severe and long continued course of training. We are speaking about 20 years of training. We are speaking about, in the case of John Carroll, the first Catholic bishop of Baltimore in the United States of America after the founding of the United States in 1776, we speak by, when we look at him, on 26 years of training, of Jesuit training. Yeah, you are just not yourself anymore. I mean, you don't have a yourself anymore. That's right. What you absolutely give up with these 20 or more years of training. Yeah. Every Jesuit, P.D. Stuart continues, is a chosen man. In addition, certain candidates are picked from the cream of the order to ascend to the highest ranks according to their ability in promoting the designs and aims of the order. Said Fulop Miller, quote, "Never before in the course of the world's history had such a society appeared. The old Roman Senate itself did not lay schemes for world domination with greater certainty of success." Unquote. To this observation of Fulop Miller must be appended the explanatory statement of General Montholon, who served with Napoleon, and this is a quote that is normally attributed to Napoleon himself. Quote, "The Jesuits are a military organization, not a religious order. The aim of this organization is power, power in its most despotic exercise, absolute power, universal or Catholic power, power to control the world." Unquote. In case you think we overstate the case, P.D. Stuart is just exaggerating, concerning the Jesuits, Wiley wrote, quote, "An army to conquer the world Loyola was forming. The general is the society." We read that already, I think, in the last and the broadcast before, right? The general is the society. The general is impersonated in every Jesuit who is dead to the will of the general. Mm-hmm. The general is the society. He could enkindle them with fanaticism, and so pervert and indurate their souls by evil maxims and long and rigorous training that they should be insensible to shame and pain, and would welcome suffering and even death. Such were the weapons of the men he sent forth to the battle. Unquote. They would become his storm troopers. And not only are they made to endure a severe physical discipline, but, as Fulop Miller writes, quote, "To a far greater extent than any other religious brotherhood, the Society of Jesus has endeavored ever since its foundation to come to terms with all the expressions of the human mind, with theology as well as with natural science, with philosophy, art, politics, economics, constitutional law, and jurisprudence." Unquote. But perfection in Jesuitism cannot be reached otherwise than by the loss of manhood. This is a very interesting quote when you just think about that, because that means that those are castrates. They are castrated, but they are not castrated of their quote-unquote testicles. they are castrated in the head. You get it? The loss of manhood. But perfectionism in Jesuitism cannot be reached otherwise than by the loss of manhood. So when somebody who is castrated loses, of course, his real manhood, someone who is going to be a trained Jesuit will lose his manhood, but between the ears. I think we can say that through the spiritual exercises, what we read about them so far, we can understand that that person who runs through this and undergoes 20 years of training of becoming a Jesuit, probably even of a high position, is being brain castrated. Will, judgment, conscience, liberty, all the Jesuit lays down at the feet of his general. Isn't that a confirmation of what I just said? Yeah? Will, judgment, conscience, liberty, all the Jesuit lays down at the feet of his general. It is a tremendous sacrifice, but to him, the general is God.
Yeah, wow. Those are some powerful quotes there. This one, yeah, very powerful. I mean,
and again,
once you're trained a Jesuit, and then to come out of that, wow, that's got to take some serious energy. Like the one dear brother in Christ that did come out that we know of
Alberto
so well.
Rivera.
Yes. Wow. Just listen to his testimony. My, oh my.
Well, Bret, it's very simple.
Yeah.
It is very easy to get out of the Jesuits. But you cannot do that by yourself. Only Jesus can call you out of there.
It is very simple. You're right. Yep. That's
you
right.
can train yourself and you can lose your brain and your conscience and everything.
But will you get it back?
No. But there's only one who can ever give it back to you, and that's the one who gave it you in the very first place.
That's right.
And that's Jesus Christ.
In other
there
words,
is no other way.
If you're going to do it just for vanity, forget it, man. It doesn't work that way.
No, let's say it this way, Bret. Every quote-unquote Jesuit that came out of the order, not by Jesus Christ, did not come out of the order, but is just an actor playing his role.
That's right. You got it. There we go. Just like the Jesuits need their martyrs for their martyrdom in their religion.
Mm-hmm.
So they sacrifice and have their martyrs and all this, and venerations and what do you call them? Canonizations and what else do you have? I don't know. I don't have all the terms down yet, but there's a lot to it.
Take another sip of the coffee, it will work.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, but I need to make a little bit jokes of you so you stay
That's
awake.
Good.
Right?
Good. It's good you did that. Yeah.
In the words of one of the Society's eminent superior generals of the 17th century, he is quoted as follows: "The members of the Society are dispersed in every corner of the world, having the same aim, same conduct, same vow, and at the least sign one man, the general, turns and returns the entire society." You can just this, because of this one sign and turn, these two words, one picture pops up in my mind. Do you know what it is like when a policeman rules the traffic because the traffic lights have gone out and there's a policeman in the middle of the crossroads? Mm-hmm. And everybody is listening at his sign, right?
Yep.
At the least sign of one man, the general turns and returns the entire society. We are all the same lemmings to the same authority, you know? Mm-hmm. When there's a policeman standing on the crossroads and telling us with his signs what traffic behavior we have to put on, we are doing that. And it's exactly the same thing in the Society of Jesus. But we accept that authority because we know that if we don't follow that one, first of all, we will probably gonna be paid, have to pay a fine, and second of all, we probably hurt ourselves because an accident will come and follow. But the general of the Society of Jesus does this, whatever the consequences are. It doesn't matter wherever these people are, for whatever circumstances. So there, of course, is a difference. But just that picture popped up of the policeman who is standing in the middle of the crossroads and is going to, rule the traffic.
Yep.
It is said that it is not possible for any who have been initiated into the higher degrees of Jesuitism to think or of retiring from the order, since the congregation, through their excellent management of its machinery, know how to procure the immediate death of any such initiated member who may wish to leave their ranks. Now, this plays exactly in what you just said about Alberto Rivera, right? He came out of the Jesuit order by the power of Jesus Christ, and I'm convinced that he really was a born-again Christian, that Jesus Christ put him out there, because what Alberto Rivera did for the Protestant movement is something that could not have been done any other way. It needed an insider of that hierarchy to jump out and tell the people. And eventually, he paid with his life. He was murdered by his dentist.
Right.
So they say, I'm going to repeat the sentence again. It is said that it is not possible for any who have been initiated into it, meaning the higher degrees of Jesuitism, to think of retiring from the order. Of course, you don't think for yourselves. Why should you be thinking of retiring from the order? Since the congregation, it's already called a congregation here, through their excellent management of its machinery, know how to procure the immediate death of any such initiated member who may wish to leave their ranks. This is why, for example, you have to be very careful when you read books of Jesuits like from Malachi Martin, I said already in broadcast before, or the one before that, because he still is a Jesuit. And those Jesuits are trained lifelong to lie and deceive. So don't take everything for truth just because it is a so-called whistleblower from the Jesuit order. The book that he wrote, in my opinion at least, is also authorized by the Jesuit general. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been published, I guess.
Right.
But anyway, I'm not here to, tread on other people. I'm just saying to the listeners and the viewers of this video that they have to be very, very vigilant when they do their research.
Well, it's true, because if you're not, then you just think, oh, it's fine. He's a good guy. Why would he lie to me? And you're taken.
Yeah. Why would he lie to you?
Yeah.
To get you away from Jesus Christ.
That's it. They're very, very clever, these Jesuits, aren't they?
Yeah, it is sorry that we have to admit, but they are probably of the smartest of the whole world.
Yeah, I think they are very clever. Yeah.
It's only a shame. It's only a shame that their intelligence is abused for such a devilish agenda.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Instead of being
what
used
a waste.
for good.
What a waste.
What a waste. Yeah, what a waste.
It is.
Now, P.D. Stuart continues, these bipolar men are so accustomed to dissembling and equivocation that even their conduct towards each other is one continuous act of deceit and spying. They swear to reveal to their superior what they have done, what they have thought, read, learned, or discovered, and to observe and watch all that comes under their notice. This is paragraph 204 of their regulare, means their regulations, means their constitutions. Yet in all of this, they are taught to be careful always to speak in the character of the pious devotee, holy men. What a brood of pious frauds. Let us now glance at the several grades of this great army of Loyola and the preparatory discipline required in the case of each. The next under-chapter or part of this chapter is called the Jesuits' Ratio Studiorum, which stands for the Plan of Studies. Ratio Studiorum, if you're not familiar with it, turn to one of my most favorite books of exposing the Jesuit order of all times, Rulers of Evil, that you will get a very nice explanation of that. Said Wiley, quote, "They would have to do the errands of Rome in all climates and under all outward conditions. They would be required to serve her in hunger and thirst, in cold and nakedness, amid the ice of the pole and under the burning sun of the tropics. The order must be able to send forth men for all departments of life, for the plough, for the school, for the bench of justice, for the army, and for the church. They must acquire a knowledge of all trades. They must study sciences and arts. They must speak all languages. That is, the whole order must have this linguistic ability." Unquote. From Wiley, The Jesuits, Their Morals, Maxims, and Plots. Even fencing and armed combat was once part of the Jesuit training, as seen in the case of Francis de Sales, who is a saint, quote unquote, who had a private trainer and, quote, wore a sword until the day he put his clerical robe, unquote. We are told that it was not just a decorative sword. He learned to fight in real earnest, and when occasion warranted, as happened one night in a melee in Padua, he was easily able to disarm his adversaries. We now turn to the first section of the Constitutions of Loyola, the Examen Generale, that prefaces the Constitutions and deals with the admission of candidates to the order. It lists 6 classes or degrees of the Jesuit order. Now listen carefully, this is very interesting. And maybe, Bret, you can put this as a running text into the video here so that people can read this while I'm reading along here. 6 classes or degrees of the Jesuit order. 1. The novices. 2. The lay brothers or temporal coadjutors. 3. The scholastics or scholars. 4. The spiritual coadjutors. 5. The professed or prophecy of the 3 vows. And 6. The professed of the 5 vows. And this information is taken from Broderick, The Origin of the Jesuits, on page 210, where the author, a Jesuit, mentions 3 of them: spiritual coadjutors, the professed, and the scholastics. On page 205, he refers to life in the novitiate, and on page 215, he speaks of the novice. These special vows of fealty to the Pope allows Catholicism's largest and most dreaded order to pursue a course throughout the world that is largely independent of control of local bishops and parishes. You know, where the quote-unquote normal priester has to have his superior directly in front of him, the bishop, a Jesuit can be thousands of miles away from his superior and still do his bidding as if he stood next to him, because he is so trained and so brainwashed to do so. Besides, writes Griesinger in his wonderful book that I already mentioned a few times, and I said it, I'm going to read that in German, that's for sure. In English I do not know yet, but you can get that as a PDF on the internet if you want to. Griesinger concludes this part of the chapter and says, besides, their form of government is not regulated according to the rules of the Catholic Church, but is carried on according to certain secret principles known only to the chiefs. Unquote. The Jesuit degrees and their requirements I will continue reading here on the bottom of page 137, except, of course, Bret maybe has a comment to anything
I
I said
thought that was interesting. Certain secret principles. What might those entail after all that rigorous discipline and training? Wow. Gives me shivers to think of that.
Well, we get to know a lot about the Jesuits, right?
Yeah.
From the Secreta Monita, from the constitutions and everything else.
That's right.
But we still do not know it all. Even the people in the hierarchy do not know it all.
No.
In my understanding, Bret, there's only one who knows it all, and that's the general of the society. And all the others,
Yep, that's right. You got it.
Have been compartmentalized.
Yep.
Have a need-to-know basis.
Yes.
And they are brainwashed in that way that the curiosity is completely taken out, so that they don't even wonder what anybody else would do or whatever more secrets would be lying there, because they are taught not to question anymore.
Isn't it interesting how that model is used precisely in our militaries? Same thing.
Yeah, why do you think
principles?
Why do you think it is so? Why do you think it is so important, Bret, that we hammer on the point that the Jesuit order is a military order?
That's right. Yep, and all military is copying what the Jesuit order does, ultimately.
No, but all military is formed by the Jesuits after their order, exactly like the SS was formed after the Jesuit order, as Heinrich Himmler said in the Second World War. And when you take a look at, for example, American elite troops like the Marines, they are trained according to Jesuit principles. They even do spiritual exercises.
Excuse me?
I'm not kidding. The Marines.
Oh, because they have all that Latin. You know, have you ever heard of this? What's that called? Semper Fi or whatever. They have this Latin term.
It's possible. I'm not familiar with that.
They use these Latin terms in the military, you know, and you know, after listening to Alberto Rivera and thinking about all this Jesuitism, you just can't help but want to just throw up. I mean, it's just so disgusting what's going on with this. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, the point that I wanted to make, Bret, is that these American elite troops, like the Marines, there are maybe more. You have always special trained parts of the military.
Oh yeah, like the Navy SEALs that what's his name from Minnesota claims to have been a part of. Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, the former governor, the former governor. Yeah. You know, like these troops, they are all fashioned after the Jesuit order. And that is not because they strive to be like the Jesuit order, but is it because that hierarchy is taught them from the top. And on the top of those departments, or whatever you want to call that, always is a Jesuit from the beginning.
That's right.
It is their aim from the beginning to train them as Jesuits, because the Jesuits know how wonderful their system works.
Yes, they do.
And these Navy SEALs and Marines and all these stuff, I mean, those guys are just, when they are let loose, they know no mercy.
No.
And
only orders.
And that's only because their training is so inductive, indoctrinating.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
The Jesuit degrees and their requirements, we continue on the bottom of page 137. The discipline required of the student Jesuit is of a very severe kind. You know, I like it, Bret, when we do our own discussion a little bit about this, but I like it even more when the things that we discuss about are then directly later put up with the next sentence we are reading.
Yeah, that's it.
And you know, the wonderful thing of that is that we are not inventing anything, and even though I haven't read it before, but that proves to me that the Holy Spirit is leading us into all truth, and we have an understanding that we understand this book without even having read it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and not only that, but, you know, I don't know about you, Jörg, but I've had life experiences that relate to it too. So it just makes more sense, you know. We're going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The discipline required of the student Jesuit is of a very severe kind. He must first undergo a period of confession of his quote-unquote sins and participate in a series of mystical or occult meditations and practices called the spiritual exercises. We already spoke about those. He starts his training at the lowest degree, the novice or novitiates. These are the first in order of admission and the last in dignity. The novice, on first entering, has all his acts, habits, and personal qualities registered. Presenting himself for admission into the order, the novitiate is subjected to a strict scrutiny into his talents, his dispositions, his family, and his former life. If it is determined that he is not likely to be of service to the society, he is at once dismissed. If his fitness appears probable, he is received into the house of primary probation. A compendium of the order is then presented to the novitiate for his consideration. Quote, "But the full body of laws and regulations of the order is deliberately withheld from him. If he possesses property, he is told that he must give it to the poor, that is, into the hands and care of the society." Or society, not the society, so not the society of Jesus, but quote-unquote society. Mm-hmm. His tact and address, his sound judgment and business talent, his health and bodily vigor are all closely watched and noted. Above all, his obedience is subjected to severe experiment. If he acquits himself on the trial to the satisfaction of his examiners, he receives the sacrament and is advanced to the house of second probation. Unquote. Next, he must fulfill a course of service in learning humility by helping the poor and ministering at the beds of the sick, even in begging his bread from door to door. Thus he learns to live on the coarsest fare and to sleep on the hardest couch. His course of service ended, he is invited to show his powers of operating on others by communicating instructions to boys in Christian doctrine, by hearing confessions, and by preaching in public. This course is to last 2 years, unless the superior should see fit to shorten it on the grounds of greater zeal or superior talent. If, at the end of his period of probation, the spiritual exercises have produced the desired effect, the student is invited to become a novitiate or a novice Jesuit. Now, what I found most interesting here is that it says in the beginning, he must fulfill a course of service in learning humility by helping the poor. He learns to live on the coarsest fare and sleep on the hardest couch. He starts really at the bottom. Yeah, mm-hmm. He absolutely starts at the bottom. Well, there's a difference with the military. In the military, you can start as an officer if you have a university degree, you know?
Right, I get it. Yep.
So you jump a lot of ranks and you just start really high in the hierarchy.
I see.
That is not possible with the Jesuits.
Right.
That you really have to start at the bottom.
Okay.
You have to eat the dirt first, let's say. Okay? Yes. And I think this is very, very important because only in that way men can be broken.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what this whole training is all about, to break your resistance, to break your conscience, to break your character, to break your personality. It is necessary, P.D. Stuart continues at this point, to say a few words more about the spiritual exercises of the Jesuits. No one can be enrolled in the Society of Jesus till he has undergone a severe and long continued course of training. These include the mystical exercises found in a book, The Spiritual Exercises, written by Loyola himself. One Calvinistic preacher said of these exercises, quote, "The Jesuits lead many astray to strange practices, which they call spiritual exercises. Not only Jesuits, but numerous secular clergy, princes of the church, scholars and laymen in the most various positions performed the exercises." Unquote. The spiritual exercises of Loyola, referred to earlier in chapter 11, and written between 1522 and 1524, is a system of occult or mystic meditations, prayers, and mental exercises. It is carried out over a period of 28 to 30 days, what I called in earlier broadcast the retreats that you have over there in Minnesota, Bret.
Ah, yes, that's right.
The Jesuits say that, quote, "the purpose of the spiritual exercises," unquote, "is to help the Jesuit find and listen to the inner man, the conscience. This is all well and good, except that what he is seeking has long abandoned him. For the very training, initiation, and oath undertaken by the Jesuit is designed to deaden and still the conscience. Quote, "Originality and independence of mind, the power of reflecting and of forming correct judgments, were not merely neglected. They were suppressed in the Jesuits' system." Unquote. Newman, and I guess that this is Cardinal Newman? No? I'm not sure.
Could be.
A.H. Newman, Manual of the Church? I don't know. We have to look it up if that is that Cardinal Newman that we know from England from the 1850s about. Anyway,
sure. Got it.
Newman says that a crucial stage in the training of the Jesuit, he is carefully excluded from all communication with his relatives and former friends. Every earthly tie is broken. This is like when you go in the prison into solitary, right?
Yes. Yep.
He is to have no will of his own as to his future course, but is to put himself into the hands of the director as the interpreter of heaven taught him. He is to be as a corpse or as a staff. Absolute obedience is the thing most insisted upon. His conscience must not assert itself in opposition to the will of his superiors. Absolute destruction of individual will and conscience is aimed at and to a great extent accomplished. In this little sentence, I just read what I said all through all the broadcasts. You are completely broken. You are completely being washed away of your identity, your character, your personality, your conscience. You have nothing left anymore. You are an empty vessel that is to be filled with the will of the General of the Society of Jesus. Having gone through that ordeal, the candidate must seek admission into the order. He does so, says Wiley, by presenting himself, quote, "before the superior, with certificates from those under whose eye he has fulfilled the 6 trials, as to the manner in which he has acquitted himself. If the testimonials should vow satisfactory to the superior, the novitiate is enrolled, not as yet in the company of the Jesuits, but among the indifferents. He is presumed to have no choice as regards the place he is to occupy in the august corps he aspires to enter. He leaves that entirely to the decision of the superior. He is equally ready to stand at the head or at the foot of the body. to discharge the most menial and most dignified service, to play his part in the saloons of the great encompassed by luxury and splendor, or to discharge his mission in the hovels of the poor in the midst of misery and filth, to remain at home or to go to the ends of the earth. To have a preference, though unexpressed, is to fall into deadly sin. Listen again. To have a preference, though unexpressed, is to fall into deadly sin. Obedience is not only the letter of his vow, it is the lesson that his training has written on his heart. And we have written the law of Jesus Christ written over our heart. And that is a mighty difference.
Man, black and white.
The approved initiate or novitiate may now take the 3 simple vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. These vows he must renew twice every year. The Jesuits, says Wiley, have their own colleges, which are amply funded by wealthy devotees, and it is to one of those that the novitiate is sent to receive instruction in the higher mysteries of the society. At these colleges, the Jesuits' intellectual powers are more severely tested and trained, and according to the genius and subtlety he may display and his progress in his studies, tact, great energy, and absolute obedience are also required. If he demonstrates these qualities, the novitiate is accepted as a Jesuit scholar. The qualities to be desired and commanded in the scholars, says the Constitutions, are acuteness of talent, brilliancy of example, and soundness of body. Unquote. Newman gives additional details here. The director studies with the greatest care the condition of the novice from day to day. He is allowed to read nothing but a little devotional matter. He may not converse with other novices. His obedience is fully tested by the requirements of the most disagreeable and arduous services. The novitiate usually lasts about 2 years, and if the novice is found to possess great energy and tact and absolute obedience, he is accepted as a scholar. He now undergoes a protracted course of training in the various branches of secular and theological learning. The scholars were a body of picked men, thoroughly obedient to their superiors and devoted to their work. The utmost attention was paid to wholesome nourishment and physical culture, for the leaders realized from the beginning that to accomplish their purposes, a sound and hard physique was just as important as a well-trained and well-stored mind. If, at the end of the course of study, the scholar was regarded as highly promising, he was made a coadjutor. We can hardly conceive of anything calculated for securing a complete mastery of a susceptible youth. Unquote. Please, Bret.
Oh, a coadjutor. They're... I don't know. When I hear that, it just gives me chills. How about them Protestants, huh? Let's go coagitate them.
I think that what we've just learned is that even come to the quote-unquote degree of a coadjutor is quite a severe training that you have to go through.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
So
I think I know one of these personally.
No, what I want to point to is the following. There are a lot of people, and even I in the past, that said that people like Alex Jones are Jesuit coadjutors.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't dismiss that opinion, but I think that when I say something like that, it has to be taken in a different meaning. He is not, in my opinion, Alex Jones, a Jesuit coadjutor in the sense that we've just learned what a coadjutor is.
Yeah. Right.
But he is a coadjutor in the sense that he does the bidding of his superiors, who are Jesuits. And not only Alex Jones, you can name a lot of other guys also who are quote-unquote Jesuit coadjutors. Even actors, politicians, people in all ranks and kinds of services, who are coadjutors. But I think very, 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 very few of those are coadjutors who have run through this kind of training here.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah?
Gotta be.
I mean, that's just my opinion, I don't know the curriculum.
I think these would be the heads of colleges and institutions of learning, especially, because wouldn't that be true?
For example, like the rector of Georgetown University.
Yes, right.
Or something like that.
That's exactly
They
right.
surely are at least coadjutors, if not of higher rank, but at least that. But, I don't know the complete curriculum of Alex Jones, for example, and I'm not here to put the finger on Alex Jones. I mean, everybody with 2 working brain cells knows that Alex Jones is controlled opposition. So why should I even waste another breath on that guy?
Yeah.
But the point is that I, in the past, spoke about that he was a Jesuit coadjutor, but I never ever understood that he had run through this training that we have just read here, because even though that I am not fully aware of his curriculum, I do not think that he had run through that.
I agree.
On the other hand, when you hear him ranting on his programs, you can see that he is quite possessed, right? Because what he always utters there on his programs and anywhere else, this is not something that is given into you by your own brain. That has been to be given to you by another brain. So maybe he is a coadjutor in this sense, maybe he is not, but I just wanted to say a lot of people who are out there and who are often labeled a Jesuit coadjutor are probably that in the spiritual sense, that well, but not exactly in the educational sense.
Yeah, that's right. Huge difference here. Huge difference.
I think there's a difference,
Yeah, very big.
Bret, if it is okay for you, I'm gonna read until the end of this page.
Yeah, please.
And there we're gonna stop, because then we have already gone a little bit over the hour, and we don't want to stretch the attention span of our listeners, because we want to keep it fun for them too to learn, right?
Right. Well, the point is, I got to get going here soon too.
Yeah, but you still have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, I sure do. Yep, no problem.
So then I'm going to continue with the next 2 paragraphs on page 141 for the conclusion of today's reading of Codeword Barbelon. Thus, it is only after having finished his second course, first as a simple scholar and then as an approved scholar, and if at the end of his course of study as a scholar he is regarded as highly promising, is the Jesuit scholar allowed to pass into the 3rd class, the coadjutors. This later class is divided still into 2 further chapters, temporal and spiritual, and Alex Jones, of course, falls under the temporal coadjutor, because he is not a priest. He is a temporal coadjutor, not a spiritual coadjutor. Only the spiritual coadjutors are admitted into holy orders as priests. The temporal go out into various trades, vocations, and professions to fulfill their assigned roles in the grand design. And note, reader, listener, that some, says Wiley, are retained to minister in the lowest offices. They become college cooks, porters, or purveyors. For the greater glory of God, ad majorem Dei gloriam, it is held expedient that these should be content to serve the society in the careful office of the martha, meaning a servant. So maybe now I can scrap everything I said about Alex Jones again, right?
Interesting. Wow.
Anyway, it's interesting to learn about this. On the other hand, the spiritual coadjutors are sent on the most difficult or
this
important
is really
assignments.
Something, isn't it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It is,
Jörg.
yeah.
On the
Either
hand.
as priests to royalty, as priests to leaders and the affluent, or as teachers in the best schools and universities and institutions of public policy. As priests, the coadjutors would seek to reach and mold the youth, the wealthy, and the leaders. The work of the spiritual coadjutor is therefore of great importance, and for that reason, says Wiley, he is required to be a priest of adequate learning, that he may assist the society, the Jesuit order, in hearing confessions and giving instructions in Catholic doctrine. In short, the coadjutors are top-flight agents selected for the most difficult assignment. And here we will stop the reading, but not before I'm going to give you a little comment on what I just read here. As priests, it says, the coadjutors would seek to reach and mold the youth, the wealthy, and the leaders. When you are working your ass off in this world and you don't get anywhere, you don't earn enough money or just enough money to survive in this world, then you know that you have nothing to do with the Jesuit order. The moment when you are in that kind of world where it goes about really making money, where it goes about really being educated as a quote-unquote leader, you know that you are under the wiles of the devil through the Jesuit order. This is what the sentence actually says here. This is why you can never, ever, ever, without belonging to any secret society, with just earning your money as a honest man or woman, reach something in this world. Because this world is led by people who are educated in the way that they choose who can get there and who can't, and all the rest is being kept down. And that's the world we live in. So don't wonder why you can work as hard as you want and you never get there, because it is not meant to be.
That's
the
right.
world doesn't run this way. This is not how the cookie crumbles.
Yep, you can bang your head on the pavement all day and it's not going to make one whit of difference in this world.
And it's not going to make one whit of difference for the pavement, but a lot of difference for your head, I can assure you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Next time we will go and learn about the professed Jesuits, who we know have at least 2 different levels. We read about that before. But for today, for the 15th of February, I think we have to call it a quits here, because Bret has to still go to work. And thank you, Bret, for inviting me again, and that you took the time.
Absolutely.
That you took the time to be here with me and do the recording.
I'm beginning to really love this book reading now, Jörg. It just is really something, I'll tell you.
The deeper it gets, the deeper we get, the more fascinating it's getting, isn't it?
The conscience gets too, and you can start putting the little building blocks of your life together, a little tearing down the walls that have been built up by your own indoctrination, so to speak. But
okay, so without any further ado,
wonderful. You had mentioned yesterday, I just thought a quick overview, using this video for the background of doing these readings to free us up so we can do other tasks. And I just think that is such a wonderful idea to do that, because I do love making videos, but I'll tell you, man, it takes time. And
I know.
It's just, because you've made so many. I mean, you've made a lot of videos, Jörg. So, you know how much time it takes.
Yeah, my idea was that you take that movie as a background picture.
Yes.
And above then above that you can put the cover of the book and the banner that you made, and
yes, and
my
we can
banner
cycle
and your
that
banner,
through.
and still in the background you have that movie running, because people will eventually read all these quotes, I guess, after they watch 3 or 4 or 5 videos of that. I think that's quite interesting, because, you know, hey, we are somewhere in the beginning of the 20s. We are on page 141 of about a little bit more than 1,000 pages altogether in the 2 volumes. So
yeah, that's right.
We haven't even really gotten warm yet.
No, we're just at the beginning. Yeah.
But I love it that we can do this every day, at least for the last week. That's wonderful. And
so anything that adds educational value to it at the same time as having a healthy book reading. And also, dear listeners, please consider getting a copy of this book and the next book, because you're going to need it. If you are getting something out of these readings that we're doing, you should really have your own copy, not only for your own edification, but for your friends. Listen, I have good friends I've given some books to, and they're giving it to their friends now. So this is only going to keep expanding, and this is the whole purpose of doing this, Jörg, as far as I can tell, is to just get this message out to every living creature.
And even more, let me interrupt you there, Bret, for a second. Please. The videos that you upload and the videos that I upload of these readings, please spread them wherever you can.
That's right. Yep.
Spread them on your own YouTube channel. Spread them on Facebook,
you don't
Twitter,
need any permission from
social
us.
Media. No, we don't copyright anything. This is the Holy Spirit working through us, and the Holy Spirit is there for everybody, because
that's right.
Jesus said, as you just wanted to quote, "Go out into the world and teach the gospel to every creature." This is how we do that. And please support us, not by sending money or something else, but support us by spreading the message.
Spread the message. That's right. That's right. We don't need the money. We've got enough money as it is, and we're not supposed to live for mammon anyway. The point here is that money corrupts, and absolute wealth corrupts absolutely. Just like absolute power corrupts absolutely. Just think about it.
Man does not live of bread alone, but of every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God.
Now that's biblical, and that's what I want to hear. So let's close it down for today, Jörg.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, sharing, and until next time, Jörg from Juggler66 says, God bless you and bye-bye.
And so does Bret. God bless and bye-bye for now.